Hello and welcome to part 9 of this series where I'm building a multi-accounts, multi-currency BIP44 that is heuristically deterministic crypto wallet, which is an air-gapped wallet, which essentially gives you the maximum security that's possible for you to hold cryptos and conduct transactions without risking your funds at all. To give you a summary, if you're new here, the architecture that we're looking at is this. You have a wallet app that sits on your mobile device or your computer, and you have a air gapped vault which runs on a Raspberry Pi, which is like a small board and can function as a computer. So that device is used as an air gapped vault over here, and all your sensitive information is kept over here, and it's not connected to any other device which is connected to the internet. So the risk is minimized in a way that it's not possible for someone to conduct an attack or steal your funds easily. And the communication between both the app and the vault happens through QR codes. So it limits the scope of attacks that can happen. Okay. So far, what we have is we have some portion of the wallet app built and some portion of the vault app built. I'll show that to you real quick. Let's go and run the servers here. That's running the wallet. Over here, let's run the vault server. So now those are running, and you can see in the vault side of things, you can, once you boot up the vault, the Raspberry Pi device, this device over here, once you boot that up, you'll be greeted with a screen that will look something like this. It will drastically change, obviously, when the UI work happens, but the ability of generating a seed phrase or importing a one if you already have it will be there. You click on this, you get your mnemonic code over here. These are essentially 24 words which unlocks your wallet, and an additional passphrase can be supplied to it. So if you specify something very secure here and click on unlock wallet, then your wallet is actually created out of that mnemonic code and the passphrase you specified. And then over here you can see that the only currency we support right now is Bitcoin, and we by default create 3 accounts for you. It's as creating a new account is essentially accessing more and more accounts. There is no creation process as such, so you can create as many accounts as you require, and simply you click on any account, you will be shown the extended pub key of that particular account, which you can scan and import on the wallet side. So once the very first time you boot up this vault app, you'll import multiple accounts of all the currencies you want to deal with. Click on all of these, scan all of the extended pub keys and import that into the wallet service. And then you can turn off your wallet, and you won't need to switch it on unless you want a new account that you want to create, either a new account for the Bitcoin or a new cryptocurrency altogether that we support, obviously. And then on the wallet side, you can use to receive funds, generate addresses under these accounts and everything. And when it comes to sending money out, sending a crypto to somebody, then you can go over here, choose the option, the recipient, the amount, and the fees you want to specify. Click on prepare send transaction, and it will generate a QR code for you like this, which will have the transaction data in unsigned format. So you scan that QR code into the vault app, which will then be able to sign the transaction and give you a QR code in return. And this QR code will now have the transaction data in signed format, which you can scan back from the wallet side again and broadcast it. So in a way, you are able to receive funds, send funds without risking your sensitive information, which is the private keys and the mnemonic phrase, on any device that's connected to the internet or even close to it. And the communication between these two devices is that much secure, and a lot of attacks that are possible. I have researched about all of those, and it seems to come out of comes out on the top of all the solutions that exist out there. So to give you a general sense, this is a sort of something that I put together yesterday. So we essentially, the way there are like three ways of storing your funds, either in hot wallets, which are essentially devices which are connected to the internet. So your mobile or your computer, which is live, which is connected to the internet. So if there was a malware, it can steal your private keys, it can change the recipient address and do all kind of shady shit and essentially steal your funds. So it's not recommended to use hot wallets at all. A better way to use or hold your crypto funds safely is using a cold wallet. And they also suffer from a bunch of attacks. Um, I have listed them here. So even the hardware wallets that you use that are like Ledger and Trezor, they only provide that much security. They're not like foolproof. So if a sophisticated attack is to happen, is personally targeted towards you, it will still be possible for the attacker to steal your funds and get away with it. So what's the best next option? The best next option is having a cold wallet that's physically disconnected from any network whatsoever. It does not require you to plug a USB wire into the computer or connects to the computer using a Bluetooth or any such network. So what essentially we have is the air-gapped walls there. Now the concept with air-gapped walls is essentially they are disconnected with the internet, with the network of any kind, and there is air in between, hence the name air-gap. But depending on what device are you using as an air gap device, a bunch of attacks, especially Tempest attack, is still possible, as in utilizing your microphone or your speaker or your fans or your small LEDs that are available in there to in order to transmit data out. So the best security that's possible is if we can reduce the scope of attacks that are possible on an air gap device, which is essentially what the vault that I'm building here does. It uses a very basic hardware. Let me scope out here. So this Raspberry Pi device will be running a custom Linux OS. So it will be a very trimmed down small version which does not have a lot of code in it. So the less code, the better it is. And then zooming back here again. And then it's not possible for such attacks to happen here. These Tempest attacks, the air gap attacks, because it has basically no fans, no LEDs or whatsoever. I mean, like it has one single LED, but it's easily to cover in a box. And there are no fans, there are no microphone, there are no speakers, so it reduces the air gap attacks that are possible. And air gap attacks are only primary concern as of now if you think you'll be personally targeted. Otherwise, they are all of these attacks are like sort of proof of concept attacks and the kind of shit you see in sci-fi movies. But it's very real. It can happen, and it will happen as cryptocurrency becomes more and more mainstream. So we need a system, like I say it on my landing page. We all deserve security, and it doesn't have to be limited to the elites. So maximum security shouldn't be just for elites, right to security. That's how I like to call it. So today we'll be picking up where we left and then continuing along. Before that, I'll quickly check whether the stream is functional. Cool, cool, looks good. I'm just gonna say hello here real quick. Cool, this looks good. Let's go. Okay, so we were on the wall side of things in the last stream. We built this QR code that's shown here for the extended pub key for different accounts that you want to create. So let's see, we have the signed transaction data that's still remaining. On the home side, the import seed phrase is remaining because you click on it, the webcam should open and scan for a QR code, which before that that can even happen, we need to ensure that we provide you the encrypted uh, the mnemonic code that you generate here. These should be encrypted, and the QR code of the encrypted mnemonic phrase is to be provided to you, so that when you import it over here, It lets you decrypt it by asking you for the decryption key, and only then you have the mnemonic phrase encoded. And even after that, you still have to provide your passphrase to unlock it. So let's continue building this today. Gonna come back to it and close this out, and we'll run it here while we are making changes in the code base. Okay, let's see. This is what? Okay. Okay, really want to consider the UX here. So what will be the different screens that somebody lands upon? So let's work that out a little. Let's use this area here, and let's see, let's call this vault boot up. We have the vault boot up here. Vault boot up here. Then we see the option of either we want to generate or we want to import. That's what we'll see. And then we'll have a choice over here, whether we want to generate or we want to let's see. Okay, back. Okay, let's see. If we are generating one right now, we generate it for the user right away. We use the entropy that's provided by the operating system, which we are indeed using the entropy that's cryptographically secure. In addition to that, I want to provide one more option, that is bring in your own entropy, as in use dice rolls to specify and generate mnemonic according to that. Generation mechanism, right? This will be one more option then, which means let's see, either it will be automatic or it will be manual. Automatic, manual. So generate goes over here. Generation mechanism choosing automatic and manual. Right now what you see over here, that I click on this button and it's generated, this is automatic. So mnemonic phrase, you get mnemonic phrase through this process. And if it's manual, then it becomes a question of using how are you going to do it. The way that I'll be building the support in this app is by using dice rolls. So you roll dices on your own, and depending on that input you specify that. So that will be a simple process to verify dice rolls. So you'll be shown a UI where it gives you a lot of fields to fill out, and you roll dice in real life and you fill those things out on the screen. Okay. So for that, I mean, in order to explain this, I'll have a video linked so that people know how to use it. But should be quite self-explanatory. So this would open up. Okay, fill out dice roll values. Let's extend this to here. Let's connect this with here. Fill out dice rolls. It will lead you to this. And then after this screen, one gets their mnemonic phrase. So this will be the generation flow. And then in case of the import, but we also need to encrypt this. So let's move it here. Once the mnemonic phrase is shown, we ask the user to write it down. So maybe we can shorten this here. So once, okay, let's ask the user to write it down. Then after that, we have to ask the user to choose a passphrase, and then we have to prompt them for an encryption key which will encrypt this mnemonic phrase and show them a QR code that they can save. So what will be the ideal flow that doesn't confuse the user, and they're still able to figure out which these are the 24 words that they need to keep safe. The passphrase is essentially used along with this mnemonic words to unlock the wallet, and the encryption key and that decryption key is a different process altogether. So we'll come back to this. Let's hash out some of our import process here. So with the import process, what's going to happen is they're going to scan QR code, or they can choose to write it down if they're coming from the system. So essentially, they also get two different options here. And over here, they will see import by QR code. And this can be a QR code which is not encrypted at all, provided that they are exporting it from some other system. But I've not seen a wallet system of any kind which exposes this mnemonic phrase so easily by QR code, because I mean, for obvious security reasons. So over here, this is an import. Okay, so what are the next steps? Either you write the mnemonic phrase, those 24 words by hand, or choose them using a mouse. Both of things should be possible. Or you simply scan the QR code that was generated by our vault app and simply restores the sensitive information in the vault. Okay. Uh, Type out 24 words, as in they are restoring it. They can also use it if they don't have access to their QR code at the moment, or they chose not to use it that way. Manually provide 24 words. Typing, selecting. I don't know how I'm gonna figure out the UI for the mouse and the keyboard in one go. Maybe it would be great to have an on-screen keyboard pop up at that point where they can simply use the mouse to click through things, and that is the only input device they need. That is, they do not require a keyboard to connect to their Raspberry Pi, um, which is here. Oops. So with this Raspberry Pi, as long as you can, I mean, ideally, I would have a touch screen that you can simply tap upon and you don't even need any input whatsoever. But for the people who won't be using a touch screen or might choose to go just connect it to their regular monitor screen, or simply as another secondary display screen they have, for them, if they should be able to use it if they just connect a mouse or a keyboard. That is my idea of it. So when importing, either they will type it out, or the next option is they scan the QR code, right? Scan QR code. At this point, we have the mnemonic phrase that we needed, and at this point, we still have to decrypt it. So maybe we don't, cause can't really pipe this into this one because this leads to the prompting the user to write it down. So let's just not connect it to that right away. Scan QR code, then we need to decrypt it. I think that can happen on the same screen, but let's see. Decrypt, and then we actually have our mnemonic code. Okay, let's do this. Right here, connect it to this one like here, and this one like here. Okay, this point isn't connected. Okay, it's connected now. Then over here we can simply specify that we will require the decryption key from the users to decrypt it. And over here we simply obtain the mnemonic phrase, and then in either of the cases we prompt the user for the passphrase. In this case we will have to make them choose it, and in this case we will simply have to make them provide it. So choose passphrase, and when they are choosing passphrase we also have to warn them about whether their passphrase is strong enough or not, or do we have any suggestion for them to make, as in not using a very common one. I think what will matter here is if we simply check for how long the passphrase is and whether that's simply all alphabets or it's a mix of numbers, symbols with alphabets. So choose passphrase, and then at this point I think when we are choosing passphrase we can use one of those form validation type UI where we can simply suggest whether their passphrase is a good passphrase and they can continue. And once we show them that it's good enough and they choose to continue, the wallet is functional. Let's call it wallet stay wallet ready. Yeah, let's call it that, because the entire boot up sequence goes through like this. Either when you boot up, you either generate or import. The generate flow looks like this, and eventually when you choose a passphrase you get to a state where, oops, ooh. Oh nice, I can do it like this. Feels like I'm designing a PCB. So the wallet gets ready here, and over here when we receive the mnemonic phrase we have to ask them to provide the passphrase. And once they provide that, we are simply able to make the wallet ready for them. So this is what the process for the Vault boot up looks like. You power it on, the OS loads, the program launches, and you are greeted with this screen: generate or import, and so on. Ultimately, we reach this state which is wallet ready. So right now, if I let's say I boot it up, the program launches and it looks something like this, right? And then I simply have this generate and import option, right? I click on generate, da da da. I have the mnemonic phrase. I need to ask the user to write mnemonic phrase, kind of like this here. Then choose passphrase. Okay, so in this step we miss the point where we are letting them generate a QR code, which will later on when they are starting booting up the Vault app again, it gives them an easy way to restore the wallet state, so they don't have to like manually type it in or provide it in. But at what step should that come in here after choosing the passphrase? Because I think if I keep it a little standardized, as in you choose a mnemonic, you choose a passphrase, that's the wallet security stuff you need to know. You keep these two things safe, you essentially have a backup of your entire wallet. And after that is when we try to bring in something else. So we give them the option of um, generate QR, generate encrypted QR code for ease of use, for convenience. For ease of use, let's go with that. Kind of need to indicate this is specific to this Vault app. This has nothing to do with any other crypto wallet or crypto vault that they might use in the future or want to switch to. So this will also lead for them to provide encrypted key. Okay, let's plug this in here. And after this, I was thinking of having an additional step where they simply scan it back. I mean, don't really need to, because this is essential. If they have copied it down, they must, I mean, like it would be good UX for me to have them confirm it that they have indeed written it all down. But for this use case, it makes no sense because it's only for convenience. And if they did, let's say they did not do it for the very first run when they generated their mnemonic phrase. So they should be able to generate this again at this step somewhere. Or maybe even when the wallet is ready, they can do it again. Or perhaps I can simply decouple this and totally skip it from this point. And once the wallet is ready, we'll can have functions like on the dashboard, either we manage accounts we have, sign transaction, or generate QR code for convenience upon the next boot. I mean, I'll have to think about what the ideal UX looks like, and most probably uh, that I'll know more about once I start showcasing this built MVP to the world and receive some feedback from users. So I think, I mean, for the purposes of development, I will never have to import it as such. I can simply use any 24 words or even generate a new one every single time or paste any 24 words in there because you don't really have to deal with funds here. So should I decouple it? I think I should, because once the wallet is ready, then it can prompt whether you want to do this additional step for added convenience, or if you simply want to go to the dashboard and use your generated wallet. I think that sounds better. Moving this out of the way. Over here, we'll definitely need this to confirm mnemonic phrase here by making user provide those 24 words right away. And then choosing a passphrase, can simply have them type it twice, like retype your password kind of a thing. And then once the passphrase is put in, also have to, like, I mean, since if when we have the actual UI, there will be a bunch of messages like here, like we had here, proper messages. So using colors and everything, that will pull the user's attention to what matters and hopefully be able to construct a intuitive user experience over there. But after they provide the passphrase, then essentially we can say that we have the wallet initialized and is ready for further use. Okay, once once the wallet is ready, then we can have this option of convenience. I'm pretty sure I'm gonna spell it wrong. Convenience. Did I spell it right? Yes. Convenience. And then the second step would be to go to dashboard. Ooh. Let's try to draw it again. So either this step or it will be they'll go to dashboard, or they will go to an additional convenience step where they will do this step. Here we can have them confirm it again as well. Confirm QR code by scanning it back. And once the QR code is scanned back, they know that they have a valid QR code that they can use the next time they boot up the vault. They're good to go on that front. And it comes back to the wallet ready state over here. So can I draw this back here without additional mess? Okay, that works. And then they can simply switch to the dashboard, and over here what they essentially can do is two different options, which is manage accounts, as in let's call it manage accounts, because essentially what they are doing is exporting extended pub keys over here. So either manage accounts or sign transaction. That is it. That is the entire user flow that's gonna happen in the vault. That's it. This is how it looks like. I'm not sure if anyone who's watching can see this all at once. Okay, let's start working towards this and build up the UI as we go. I mean, not the aesthetically pleasing UI, but just kind of a bunch of screens. Then later on we can do the UI work, as in put in a little CSS here and there. Okay, so what do we have here? Nothing is modified in the Git repo. So right now this is on the /root URL. This is the dashboard. Okay, so the very first screen will only show these two options. Okay. For now, in order to just leave the process at any point and come back to these links, we'll simply use the header links for now, and then later on figure out a good way to be able to show that. So this is where we are at. This text area will go out. So we kind of end the div container here, and we'll start another container over here. Just wrap all of it inside of that div for now. Oops, something broke. No. pretty sure I should be seeing some error. That is why two of the screens are shown over here. Or is it a matter of a missing closing tag or something? This div is properly. Oh, okay. Yeah, that's why. Do I have additional div tags here? No. I think I do. Oops, oops, oops. Just need to delete this one, and yes. Whoa. Oh, didn't change the path here. So, okay, since this is root slash, so this let's call it slash generate slash import slash generate. Okay, so this becomes generate. Don't have a screen for the import as of now, but let's provision the space in HTML for it. Okay, so now we only have the generate and the import here. Let's see. Do I have the passphrase still inside of this div? Oh, not here. Okay. So when I click on generate, instead of the actual generation step, it should just take me to this route over here, and this button should be over here. It will essentially have to give me an option how I want to generate it, and only when it's automatic then it will do that action. Okay, let's see. So do we simply use links here? Generate. Let's try to use the same class and see what result we get, and change this URL to generate. Okay, yeah, that looks all right. Gonna call it generate wallet, and then duplicate this. I'm gonna call it import wallet. Change the URL to import here. Then move this down here somewhere. And then this import can go down here. This message can go along with this button, and we don't have anything else on the screen. So it's simply generate wallet or import wallet, and this takes me to the generate URL, and this takes me to the import URL. Okay, so when we are on this generate step, we have to choose the generation mechanism, which is either automatic or manual. So we show a little message of being cautious of your surroundings. They click on generate, and it did not work. Do we not have, oh, we don't have the server running, that's why. Restart, reload rather. Okay, now the mnemonic phrase is here. This is only when the generation method is automatic. So let's change the UI according to that. Instead of this here, we need to give them two options. Generation mechanism. The first being generate automatically, which is a simple option that the user will tend to default to and is still secure. But for advanced user who wants to bring in their own entropy, then we give them an option to use dice rolls. Let's call it what it is. Let's call it render dice rolls input. We'll define this function, otherwise it will throw an error right now. Render not rise dice rolls, and this will be a function. Load, still errors. What did I do? Oh, render dice rolls input. Okay. Home, generate automatically, and dice rolls. Bring your own entropy. So here simply you can use a line break for now, or let's not do that and stop 10, and we have to make it display block. I think the class is simply block. If not, then we'll look up. Okay, that works. And let's give it some padding and border. Let's give it rounded border. We'll have to give it round DLG to make it more curvy, and that looks okay for now. Okay, so we don't really need the mnemonic phrase screen over here, do we? I mean, if it's automatic, then they get the mnemonic phrase right away, and we can simply show the mnemonic phrase when it has some input in it. So I think we'll need a different UI screen here. Any chat messages? Hi. Thanks. How are you? I'll go and quickly grab some water. Give me a second. back. Okay, let's continue. Okay, yeah. This mnemonic phrase, let's say, only to show it when mnemonic is not equal to empty, and use single quotes for this attribute. And now the mnemonic phrase is gone, and when I click on it, it will show up on its own. Okay. Actually like this border or background for it. Alright, so let's call it okay, looks alright for now. So once we have these words, okay, before that, this shouldn't show up here, this shouldn't show up here. So what can we do about these two things? We'll have to move it out eventually in a different UI screen, I think. So let's keep it here for now, out of the way. Oh, that's not out of the way. Okay. Generate automatically, we get this, and please copy it down. So we then need to make the user confirm the mnemonic phrase. So we have to skip to a different screen where they cannot see this. So it's not possible for the user to continue generating this mechanism and reach the wallet ready state unless they can prove that they have written a mnemonic phrase somewhere and they are capable of providing that information back to the UI. So I think we'll go for a different screen for mnemonic confirmation. I keep on hitting the wrong keys. Anyway, let's duplicate this. Generate, import, confirm mnemonic. In the confirm mnemonic field, we will have a different text area similar to this, except it will be binded to a different model. Mnemonic confirm, or rather confirm mnemonic, and need no condition here. This will not be a read only. They will have to type it in. Oh, will they have to type it in? I mean, what if they don't have a keyboard? See, if I provide the option of not typing those words out and choosing them out of the existing word list, then it becomes a little complicated in the sense that I have to pull those word lists out and be able to render what do you call it, drop down for them, and the values of the drop down, the possible values of the drop down will vary as per the language that they have chosen, Right now, I think we have four or five. I mean, 5 or 6 languages. I think BIP39. So English, French, Italian, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So 7 different languages and 8 lists in total. Oh wow, what is this? Did this guy generate this image by all the words in the word list? 2048 words here. Not sure how many words are there in it. So let's take a quick look at that first. So for English, we indeed have 2048 words. Okay, so that image was right. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 languages and 9 word lists to support. I mean, supporting them is not difficult. The difficult bit would be to have 24 drop downs. Let's say you're using the English language. So you will have 24 drop downs, and each drop down has over 2000 entries in it. Imagine clicking on that drop down and then using your scroll key on the mouse to choose one of those options in the 2000 word lists. That's insane. That's no good. Okay, so what does it take to trigger a on-screen keyboard in browser? Just curious. JavaScript based on-screen keyboard for browser, like on cell phones. So apparently there are plugins. Is there one for Vue on-screen keyboard, Vue.js? And what we can do is, as the user is typing it in, we can use autocomplete to provide suggestions, and then the user can simply select one. So if they're trying to type abandon and we type the user clicks on A, the user clicks on B, then suggestions are filtered out and they can simply uh, choose one of the suggestions in there. Let's check this out. Oh, this looks nice, real nice. But hmm, I'm just wondering what will happen if the screen that's in use is quite a small one and the keyboard might take up the entire space that's there. So what happens then? I mean, if you're using a keyboard, like if you could only connect one input device with the Raspberry Pi, that is your Vault, either a keyboard, either a mouse. Keyboard is much more easy to work with, but it's not for everyone, as in not everyone knows how to navigate all the options that are on the screen using the keyboard. You essentially have to hit tab a lot of times to switch focus to different elements and then work your way around the UI like that. But not everyone gets it. So then mouse becomes kind of tricky when you have to type it out. So this is why we have these sort of components that people have built out. Oh, this looks really nice actually. Abandon. Hmm. So we also have themes. Ooh. I mean, I like this project. I want to build it in a way where it's optimized. Optimized for security and simplicity for everyone. And if you're using a specific screen or a specific input output, you should still be able to get the job done. It shouldn't be like, okay, the creator did not think of this, and now using the combinations of the hardware that I'm using, I'm unable to proceed in this UI. It shouldn't be like that. I mean, I should be able to control the size of this keyboard as well, right? Let's check out the documentation. Oh, yeah, and what happens if the word list is not English? How do I support those characters? Because I have not personally used a different language keyboard and I know whether that's capable enough to do everything, or like for Chinese, I know this isn't gonna be enough for Chinese because Chinese language has a lot of symbols and this is nothing. So how do they use it? And over here as well, we have two different word lists for Chinese. One is simplified, one is traditional. And just look at all these symbols. How is one keyboard supposed to form up those words? I have no idea. Mm, oh, oh yeah. I remember something that will be useful. We don't need this on-screen keyboard for now, I think. What I can do is, on the confirmation screen, instead of letting them choose, I know in my head what that word is, and I simply show that word along with four other options and make the user click on the right one. I think that's the UX that I saw in one of another wallet, the Airgapped wallet, and I really liked it. So I think that's I'll simply use that user experience in this context. So let's see. What we can do is what we can do is turn down the AC a little. When it's weird, I should have said turn up the AC a little because I meant decreasing the temperature, but increasing the work for the air conditioner. Anyway, um, okay, let's come back to it. Confirm mnemonic is not going to be a text area. Scratch that. We will prompt the user for words, each word. They will choose each word in the same go, and only then we proceed. Mm, so, how can I receive words upon clicking on them? Hmm. And every single time. Okay, let's go in steps. Let's first have a button which we can click and go to the proceed, which will be confirm mnemonic screen, and which obviously should not show up unless mnemonic is not empty. Should use double quotes here just for the sake of being consistent. Maybe I should have it other way around. I don't think that really matters. Mm-mm. Oh, meant to say margin on y-axis. Okay, good. Proceed. So after clicking this, we are in the confirm mnemonic screen, which has what? This screen. Over here, we have the mnemonic, the 24 words in the mnemonic model over here, and we want to populate these words that we will receive from the user in a different one and then compare. But and each one can be just appending to the string that we have in the model. So I mean, we first extract out the mnemonic that we have, then scan the mnemonic as in which word list it belongs to, and then use that word list to choose, I mean, to ensure that that's the word list we're going to use for the rest of this step. And then, I mean, on the generation step, I did not let them choose the language. So that should happen here as well. Okay, generate automatically. It did. But how do I choose the language? I don't know. I mean, do I give the prompt for the language at the boot up, or on this screen where they can choose their language and go accordingly? I mean, for now, since the UI is gonna be in English only, I think I'll simply provide the option of language at the generation step, and then later on I can bring the language to the entire app later on, because I'll need a translator. I don't know any other languages. It's really a pain to monitor chat by switching to screens manually and then coming back to them in between while you're working. Would be nice to just have them popping up in another display or something. Maybe I can use the TV to connect and whatever. Okay, let's see how we can do this. So in the generation step, I want to use the word list that we have, and I want to download all the word list as well. Static assets. So I think I'll create a new folder here and copy all the files that are in the repository over here. These files have not been modified in years, so that's a good sign. What does this document have in it? Developers implementing phrase generation or checksum verification must separate words using ideographic spaces. Accommodate users inputting ideographic spaces. Okay, don't know what that is, but looks like I'll have to be mindful of that. However, code that only accepts Japanese phrase but does not generate or verify them should be fine as is. This is because when generating the seed, normalization as per the spec will automatically change the ideographic spaces into normal ASCII spaces. So as long as your code never shows the user an ASCII space, separated phrase, or tries to split the phrase input by the user, dealing with ASCII or ideographic space is the same. Oh wow, that's a lot of complicated stuff that I do not understand. I think if I have an example of phrase in each language, I can quickly figure out what are they talking about. Anyway, okay, only for Japanese, right? Word wrapping doesn't work well, so make sure the words only word wrap at one of the ideographic spaces may be a necessary step, as a long word split in two could be mistaken easily for two smaller words. This would be a problem with any of the three character sets in Japanese. Three character sets. Want to look at the Japanese word list now. Hmm, I don't know. Looks like regular words to me. I wonder how do they came up with this word list to begin with. That would have been some task. So these are special considerations, and no consideration is for English whatsoever. So I guess I'll come back to it when for each of these word list and accordingly work as per that. But for now, I'll still save it anyway and then work accordingly. So static word list, got the English one. Let's save all of these. Or it will be faster if I use the GUI here. Once I select the right folder, it will be much quicker. So Spanish goes here, Korean goes here, Japanese goes here, Italian goes here, French goes here, Czech goes here, Chinese traditional goes here. Oh, these, they all look like one alphabets. Chinese simplified. It just occurred to me, I hope the Google Translate in the browser did not touch these files at all. Already have the Japanese. Okay, should have all of these files by now. I do. And yeah, I can quickly do this. Clone this repository and check the MD5 scan for everything. git clone. It's BIP39. Now what is 0039? Then I've got to do MD5 sum of all of these, and this matches 5F5C, this matches 35975, this matches 88 French 559. Okay, all of these matches. So didn't screw up, the Chrome didn't touch these at all. So now we have the word list, right? So what now? We still have to build that logic first so that later on we don't have to come back to it. Oh, we first of all give them the option of choosing a language here. What we can do here is so I think generate wallet option. Okay. I mean, the language option that will be here will get applied to both of these, right? I think so. Because whatever the dice rolls is, you are choosing words according to that. So what words will be chosen for those dice rolls will depend on the word list you have chosen. So yeah, word list will have to be a thing here. I think I'll simply use a drop down here. List. Let's call it English, French, Spanish, Chinese, simple, Chinese, traditional, Czech, oh, we already have this here. English, French, Italian, Korean, and Japanese. Italian, Korean, Japanese. Okay. Perhaps it's better on the top. Mm-mm. That's not what I was going to do. I don't know what that is, but whatever. So we have the word list, can be chosen. Need to bind this with word list language. Let's define that here. And we can have it default to English. Over here we can so we can I did define. Okay, just need to reload. And if I access now, it's coming up right. Cool. So now the word list is binded and we can use that. So from home, generate, choose the word list, generate automatically. And okay, the server isn't running. Of course. Reload, generate. This gave me these words. Then upon proceed, it takes me to confirm mnemonic. But wait a second. Does Vue.js still maintain the value of variables if I jump on pages? I think it won't. So if I generate the mnemonic here and the mnemonics are coming over here, when I click on proceed, it should be gone. Yeah, it is. So I now need to use to change URLs without actually reloading the page, so that the JavaScript variables stay. The value of those variables are not reset from the fresh page load that happens. Just change URLs. So let's quickly see how to do that. Pretty sure it will use the simple HTML5 API that we used to have. I think this is just another abstraction. So Vue.js routes. Let's see. Is that a Vue.js core thing, or that comes when you use one of the Vue.js extensions or plugins or whatever they are called? Do we have this router? App dot. Don't think we do. It's a different plugin or whatever you call in this context that we can install, and it will give us all of these options. It's here, and we simply link it like this. And we simply component match by the router will render here. Okay, and where is that exactly specified? Over here. I'll define the components for each of them. I mean, it makes sense for each of these components to be a component of their own, as in this generate component, this import component, and so on. But for now, if I don't want to use this, should be able to continue doing that. Let's try. Let's bring this into the project. And then, how do I use it? Router link to. So does that, okay, it renders as an anchor tag by default. All right, let's use this here. Generate. What is this? Shouldn't this be giving me a anchor text here? I don't follow. Okay, so it looks like we did not create the router instance like this, and routes need to be defined like this. But if I'm not using components, then how do I specify that? Okay, need to initialize the Vue.js instance like this as well. And we need to do this as well. Okay. Okay, so what now? Aside from using this to create anchor tags for declarative navigation, we can do this programmatically using router.push function. Okay. Makes no sense because when we are simply having anchor tags, we don't want to replace those using methods which will call this. I mean, all of this makes sense, and it becomes easier if I had the components fleshed out, which I currently don't. Hmm, but even then, if I don't have it, okay, that's why it's throwing an error. Or because I didn't create an object of it. Let's see if we can really get it working without the components, or otherwise we'll be forced to figure out the components first. This we need routes as well. Routers here, and need to create this by injecting a router. Will it work if I simply do it like this? Where does it move the mount call to the outside of it? Will it be okay with all of this? I have no idea. Okay, looks like that's not gonna be a problem, except this isn't defined, so let's try to define that. Oh, we also have a button showing up now. So we define the routes like this, which will be components. And do I have another way of defining these routes? Each route should map to a component. The component can either be an actual component constructor created via view extend, or just a component objects options object. Hmm. Looks like we'll have to switch to components. So here's an example of a Vue.js component. We define it using like this. Define the data and the template. They are reusable Vue instances with a name. This is the name. Use it like a tag as a custom element inside a root Vue instance created with new Vue. Okay, so it can only be used inside a root Vue instance. Outside of the root Vue instance, this won't work. Count, data is count. Where is the on click count plus plus? That's how it's increasing this count. Okay. Since components are reusable Vue instances, they accept the same options as new Vue, such as data compounded. Okay, right. The only exceptions are a few root specific elements like element. So this is the root Vue instance. This is a component. The root Vue instance is attached here. This is used inside of it, and this renders this template. So we get this. Cool. Reusing components. Components can be reused as many times as you want. Okay. Data must be a function. When we define the button counter component, you may have noticed the data wasn't directly provided in an object like this. Inside a component's data option must be a function so that each instance can maintain an independent copy of the return data object. Okay, makes sense? If you didn't have this rule, it would increase the value of the count will be the same for each instance, and the data will bleed across instances like this. Organizing components. It's common for an app to be organized into a tree of nested components. You might have this. To use these components and templates, they must be registered so that Vue knows about them. Okay. Since we're gonna do this anyway, let's comment what we have for now so that we can changing all of this code around, making everything into a component, and then work our way towards it. Okay. Let's start with the header and the footer that we have. Why was this not saved? Okay, just this, never mind. That's fine. We got this. So I already have two components for header and footer. I create root instances for them like this. So now we'll only be creating a Vue instance at a higher scale, and the header and footer can be inside of it. Where is the my footer app? Okay, so I think we simply do it like this. Divide the app, cut it out, change this to body, so header, body, footer, and then close it out like this, indent everything, and that should be it. Let's see how many errors does it throw. Just foo, which is at line 41st. Oh, the paths that we defined. Comment it out for now. Okay, let's see. The header and the footer still works because now they are inside of this. They are defined like this. The template is over here. Oh, I have two different ID headers class, don't I? Yep. So what I should be doing is doing it like this. This can go away, and I can add it over here. Does this work? It doesn't. Cannot find element header. Why can't you? Let's see. We define a component, but the root element is here. Let's kick out all the roots for a second. Okay, so the header works now, but it still says cannot find header. Hmm. Hmm. Okay, don't need this anymore. So I think that's what that error was about. Yeah, that's gone. Still running header and footer without creating new root instances. So the components are definitely working now. For the footer one, since this is just simplified my header now, this can also my footer. I forgot what the rule looked like. Okay, that's too much code. That was index. Okay, margin top 10 is what I had. 10 goes here. Still need to see how I can just provide the files, HTML files, which will be used as template for these components, so that I won't really need the templates in there. Okay, let's see. Cannot read properly resolve when undefined 2 times. This is happening to router link, so I think if I comment this out for a second, that should be gone. Okay, so without the routes functionality, we have the header and footer working under the root instance like this, which is good. But let's also figure out how to use template files. Vue.js component to have template file. Single file components via view extension made possible by build tools such as Webpack or Browserify. Okay, then I guess I'll have to use a build process. If I simply resort to different, like the entire view components to reside in different files. Okay, this is what I was looking for. 7 ways to define a component template. One is plain strings, like how we're doing right now. Okay, then template literals. Actually, this is what I'm doing right now. Then X templates, which says pick the template from this ID. Your template is defined inside a script tag in the index.html file. The script tag is given the type and referenced by ID in your component definition. That works. What else is there? Inline template. Okay, yeah, this works as well, but then what's the use of the header and footer templates in my case to begin with? Not much. Render functions. Oh wow. What use case requires this? Curious. Single file components. Use single file components as they are the more versatile, more powerful option in almost every scenario. That said, each of the above will have an edge in a certain scenario and should be judged on the use case you have. Trying to avoid the build process for now. So I think for the header and footer I can simply use xtemplates function. I mean, it doesn't matter. It doesn't, cause I only have like not enough HTML in there, so this can live like this anyway, or I can define them here so that all the template code is at least not over there. Script type text xtemplate. ID is what we specify here. Okay, looking at this, let's say header template here, and then in the index.html file, script type is xtemplate, right? Text xtemplate, and then the ID will be header template. And inside of this the HTML goes. Okay, let's comment this out. Oops, I broke it. Cannot find element header template. Oh, so it cannot be outside of this. After this JS file, it should be before it. Otherwise it will execute it, it will not know what it's executing. So this works, I like it. Let's do this. Let's do the same for the footer. Copy this. That should do it. Yep. Great. So header and footer are now actual components. So now that we have the header and footer as templates, what do we do now? Oh, do have the year variable available here, which is not used in footer template, and it's now okay. Vue.js is the only thing that I like in JavaScript. I don't like JavaScript at all, but Vue.js is fun to work with. Okay, let's see. Where do we have this big white space on the top? Huh? Somebody please explain that shit to me. Okay. What? Where is it coming from? HTML only. So the body starts from here. The HTML starts from the top. And there is nothing defined here that explains why it's occupying that space. This is stupid. What? Oh, this is the H1 causing it. Why is that? H1 and 10. This is okay for now. Okay, so on the home we have here, and now let's define those routes. We can finally have the routes defined and not use div like this. Okay, so we first need to define the routes, and there will be this path that will be main component, or what do I call it? I want to call it init because it's initializing the wallet state. Init component, and then we click on generate, then we have the generate component, Then we also have the import. So let's duplicate this, import edit here, and it is not defined for now. So let's go ahead and define it. But this should be my footer. How was it working earlier? God has its own ways. Hmm. Generate import. Okay. Okay, we have to define the init component. That was that's what I was trying to do. Let's duplicate this. Okay, I'll define a bunch of components here, and according to these paths they will be plugged in somehow. What did the documentation say about that? In the routes, yes, this router link to da da da, and then router v. Okay, component matched by the route will render here. Okay, so in the index.html file inside of body, I'll have this here, router view, and to make it look different than anything else on this page, I'll do it like this and give it a red background maybe. Okay, it says init is not defined. Let's continue doing that. Component, should I be naming my components in all small case? Not necessarily. This becomes init. This is simply the HTML tag, and this is the name for it, right? So let's call it init in small case here. So now for the slash path component, init is defined like this, and data, what data is supposed to have. Let's keep it here as is. The template for it will come from init template, which comes from here, init template, and then inside of this I'll simply change it to have these two links, which will be replaced with router link. So let's copy. Okay, what did I do? I don't know. Okay, I think I hit undo over what I was doing. So let's get back to cutting this, bringing it down here. Does it render? Where does my header go? Okay, now it's gonna complain about all the header components that I've defined, but I'm not using it. So let's comment these out temporarily. Cannot read property matched of undefined. What do you mean by that? Okay. What is that? Okay, 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 okay. Okay, I don't know what this error is. I guess we Google it. Okay, is DuckDuckGo functional again? Oops. That was for research purposes only. Okay, DuckDuckGo is still down. Uh, I mean, DuckDuckGo is not down for me, but it's just we have an ongoing issue that Indian ISPs are banning DuckDuckGo.com, and that's an ongoing issue. So I had to revert to back to Google. Okay, let's check out this error. Let's not read the question at all and focus on the answer. The name when you add it to view must be router. Import router from da da da. Mm, okay, I did not do this. I did not do this. So that is why it's complaining, I think. Yep. Let's see what the error is now. Okay, it's complaining about the init component. See, didn't even have to read the question and we figured the issue out. All right. Error compiling template. Component template should contain exactly one root element. If you're using vif on multiple elements, use velsif to chain them instead. Okay, one root element, then everything goes inside of it. I think that's what it is saying. So just to confirm that, I can simply wrap all of this shit in one div and it will be all right with it. If I understood it right, which I'm pretty sure I did. Yep. Okay, now that we have it, let's switch to router links and now just jumping generate wallet, use the classes since it will be generating an anchor text for us. It will look exactly like that. Yep. Okay, that for now I want these links to actually load the page to refresh the state, so I'm gonna leave it as it is for now. Okay, let's import this into import wallet. Import wallet, and this becomes import. So now we have to go to generate, go to import without reloading page. Sweet. So init component is done. We do have this stray slash somewhere. Okay, let's figure out this mystery of this stray slash. is coming from here, container MX auto. This. Okay. This can be kicked out of the view now. Oh, I barely noticed this red. Okay, I'm gonna have this red background to be sure. I have all of this in one go, or rather I can just convert these into templates and then move all of these down. So let's copy this and generate template, and inside of which is, I think, this container MX auto class can come over here. Yeah. And for the init template, I don't have any classes over here. That's good. Back to this. What? Okay, I just typed it out and I have to move this over there. So this gets gone like this. Already have this above, so an empty div will be required. And entire this div can be moved here. So now we have the generate template here. Reload it. No errors, right? Yeah. Click on generate. No output. Great. Why? Okay. Let's define this. Generate is not defined. Okay. Generate here, and generate template here. Alrighty. Lots of errors though. Oh. Hmm. So since it is some input fields are binded to the global models here, I think I'll have to figure out how to pass the data from the global root scope to the component itself. That's what I gotta do. And generate template, and in the init template I had no variable, so it's an empty return. Or I think I can simply skip it. It will work. Okay, don't have the import defined, that's why. Alrighty. For the generate template, let's see. Vue.js, passing data to component or props to component. Using props to share data from parent to child. Vue.js props are the simplest way to share data between components. Props are custom attributes that we give to a component. Then in our template, we can give those attributes values, and bam, we are passing data. Show me an example, please. And the same can be done using props. So let's check out both of them. To pass a title to our blog post component, we can include it in the list of props. So props is defined like this, and we give it title. Can always have as many props as you would like, and by default any value passed can be passed. Access the value on instance by just data. So data.title, right? Oh no, just title. Okay. Why does it say data here though? So this was the root app, then the blog post, the bind key, and what's happening here? Okay, this is also using props. What? Okay. Okay, let's try passing some data to which component though? To generate component. Over here, and it's supposed to be a list of models that we are passing, I think. Props are custom attributes you register to pass a title to block component. A component can have as many props as you like, just like with data. Okay, so that they meant the data, this data. A typical app, however, you likely. Dynamically pass props. That makes so okay, let's see what are we using and try to pass something. Word list language. So right, okay, it already has the list in here. What? Okay, so it's all rendering from the is not defined at the instance but referenced during render. Make sure this property is reactive either in the data option or for class-based components. Initializing the property. So if I specify this, oops, what the hell? Try to copy this word. Okay, gotta do it in single quotes. Pass it as strings and not variables. Okay, that one error is gone at least. So I guess I simply define everything on the top. And does the change gets picked up by the app dot wordless language on its own though? It says English, but the overhead's not bind. If I change it here, error here, and it's still not changed. So yeah, it's not working, but avoid mutating a prop directly since the value will be overwritten whenever the parent component re-renders. Instead, use a data or computed property based on the prop's value. Prop being mutated. So I want to mutate the prop. What then? Which is components. The value will actually change inside the component but not outside the component. The value of a parent property cannot be changed inside a component, and in fact the updated value will be lost if the parent re-renders for any reason. To update the parent property, what you should do is emit the updated value and listen for the change in the parent. Okay, so this is component template. This prop is passed down, then it creates a variable of its own, bind it to this prop, and then in the method, when this room selected is updated, its local variable. Okay, it does not even reference to it. It simply says update coach status. So when this changes, it emits the event. The parent catches it, changes it, then this changes on its own and is rendered. And in your parent template, listen for the event. Update room. Okay. What is this? Prop room selected. Is this like a way to define the default value? So I want to emit here, and the parent should catch it and then update it, and then it's passed down again. So seems inefficient, but I guess that's the price we pay to compartmentalize components. So let's see, if I have the generate template function over here, and this is so where do I define it? I mean, the parent component is the root component here, so I must listen for that event on the root instance. Okay, Um, let's see. Perhaps we pass all the data that we need in terms of props, and then keep on adding emit functions for each one of them when they get updated, and then keep on changing it unless we are error free over here. Okay, so where were we? Hmm, I changed the word list one. Okay, over here. Then we have the mnemonic, and that's it. Okay, let's pass mnemonic as well. Okay, it says generate mnemonic is not defined. Okay, these methods needs to be moved to, I mean, they need to be kept at the root instance, but we'll need different functions that will emit the events for this. Okay, can I have the same names? What does arrow say? Is not defined but reference during da da da. Okay, so generate on this, and let's define the function here and copy this over, and that error is gone. Okay, but this only updates the local copy of it. Mnemonic will be empty. I fetch the mnemonic from the API call, update the mnemonic, but then at what point do I emit it? Okay, inside this function, instead of updating that, okay. Hmm. They already have a prop prefix in the name as well. Ah, do I have to use it though? That means that root components are always supposed to have the prop prefix. If it doesn't have this and I have the same name here, then surely it's gonna get confused or throw an error. If I pass the prop mnemonic and use it to tie up to this mnemonic this way, will it even work? Oh, nope. The default proprietary mnemonic is already declared as a prop. So if I do it as prop mnemonic, then it has no problem. Okay. Okay, but then on the root instance, I need to change the value of these variables as well. This dot value, this dot emit input, and in the parent template we have this. This looks way better. So whatever I choose in the router view gets rendered here. So either generate or either import. So I'm not using components directly as a tag here. That is done for me by the routes that are defined here. Where is it? Over here. So where does the routes go from here? How is this working? It's working, but how? I'm not gonna add it unless it tells me that it's broken. Okay, I'm lost. I'm kind of lost here. Okay, I'm on the starting page. I click on generate wallet. It tells me render dice rules input. This one, his method is not defined. So let's go ahead and define that for a second. What am I doing in this file? Isn't this the wallet one? Yeah. What? Oh shit. Did I screw it up? Okay, just a single line of modification there. And that is an indirect file. That is okay. And I should close the wallet related files. Okay, back to this. Let's define the import this function here. Okay, so no error now. Home, generate wallet, no error. Word list is still not selected to the English because the data isn't being passed correctly. So now let's try plugging this first, and then rest of the things should fall into their place. Word list language. This is the model we have, and this is passed as a prop, which is not used anywhere. Actually, wanna call these as directly, and the local variables can be called with a suffix mnemonic prop, which at this point, instead of updating the local value of this, I should be emitting an event here. This dot emit, right? Where did you go, buddy? Should be consulting the documentation actually for this one. And listening to child components event. Yes, this is what I want. As we develop this, we support this feature by adding a post font size data property, which can be used in the template to control the font size of all the blog posts. Okay, so post is passed in here and emit something. The child component can emit an event on itself by calling the built-in emit method, passing the name of the event. Okay, name of the event. We would say new mnemonic generated, right? And then on the parent, I have to listen to this emitting a value with an event, right? So that's what I want to do as well, which will be this response.data.mnemonic. And what else? Alright, so thought I will plug in some music. So this event is generated now. I need to catch it, and catch it where though? In the parent, but my parent is the root instance. And in your parent template, listen for this event. This is a common pattern we implemented directive to make it slightly easier, called vModel. Hence a component that supports vModel that will do the same thing. That makes no sense to me. Here they're passing the value prop, emitting the event name input, and in the parent template, which does not look like the parent template, it looks like the same template. They're simply calling it like this. Where is the parent component? should I be using an application label shared state rather than passing data around? And the examples I'm seeing is a way of nesting components into one each other where I don't have any nesting of any kind. I'm simply having the routes replace the render these components based on the path. So can I pass more? Should be able to pass more stuff here. View router.
I'm on my own, broken alone. I feel the rain crashing down. All around this empty town, we're searching for the lost and found. But you don't care, you're unaware. Keep moving like the scars aren't even there. It's in the air, like a blazing flare. Just stare, cause the flames will burn us. I thought you were the one for me. That's why I gave you everything. Held you close by the stormy seas. Oh, you meant the world to me. I used to kiss your head when you cried for me. Hold your hand while the pain was over.
Component setup derailed my momentum, sadly.
Points in blaming you, you did not know. Oh, I thought you were the one for me. That's why I give you everything.
This execution stall here. Avoid mutating a prop directly since the value will be overwritten. So let's go here. I mean, is wordless something that should be in the global though? I mean, these three things are essentially what we'll need across. Do we really need them across? And once the mnemonic and passphrase is generated and sent back to the backend server, that maintains the state. Then these are actually not needed. So what if interesting. I'll comment out all of these four because this we are handling a router's library for it, and it's gonna move these three things inside of generate. I mean, like, if we are in the generate template, we generate the mnemonic. Where does the mnemonic go after that? Over here, this is the dash slash view. This is the generate view. This is the component. And once mnemonic is generated, we ask it to. So essentially, all of this is in generate component, right? Once this happens, well, the wallet is ready, and simply it doesn't need to give away the mnemonic, doesn't need to give away the passphrase. Both of the things are available on the wallet side, right? Okay, this kind of makes it easy because you don't really have to pass data around. We will simply define that inside of this component, and I'll do that as long as I can, as soon as I can find the component where I defined it. Okay, it's still at the top. Yes, over here. I have to define the model. So I'll go to the definition here. It's here. Then mnemonic. Don't need props. Don't need any data being passed. Mnemonic is empty, and so is passphrase, and then so is word list, default of which is English. And then you don't really have to omit anything. This comes back, this goes away. What else? Let's go. Mm, okay. Current route is not defined on the instance but referenced during render. Okay, that is happening because I commented that out, so all of these are failing now. Import template, script, confirm mnemonic. Can I just comment these out for now? Sweet. So now we start from the home, we click on generate, we get here, word list is binded to it. Can I still access it like this? No. So how do I view it? And why does my Vue.js extension never works? How is it supposed to work? I'm pretty sure it will be able to fetch the values of these components and show me. That's what its entire purpose is. But for some freaking reason, okay, it's added as a tab in here, but why don't I see it? Why? What's gonna take? New DevTools extension doesn't show up in Chrome. Okay, it says reopen the developer tools tab. What now? Okay, I finally have it. Okay, where were we? We were able to get this working, which is nice. Yes, now I can click on this and now I can see it. Sweet. Nice, nice, nice. I like it. Okay. Uh, now we have the value changing in this component, and I can click on this generate. Can't I have this in the console showing up both together? Or can I pop this out? Now it's generated. What? Let me click, please. What are you doing? What is this? Events. UX. And this is components. Switch to components, switch to UX, switch to events, switch to routing, switch to performance, switch to settings. Okay, theme, give it dark. Oh, no, light is better. Display density. What? What is that? Editable props may print warnings in the console. Time format. Display milliseconds. Okay, that's nice. So, oh yes, that's what I wanted. Console along with it. Okay, reload. Generate view. Choosing here nice. Click on generate. And nothing happened. Except an error because the server isn't running. Clicked on generate, got the mnemonics back. Values are filled over here. It says proceed. I think instead of proceeding first, I mean, if I add the option of a passphrase here, okay, but then that's a different component. Confirm mnemonic. I think. No, that's not a different component, that's the same component. So I think inside of init we have this, inside of generate component we have all of this. Right. So we switch out proceed is here and we don't want to change the URL. So what do we do? Do we use another component inside of this component? Then we'll have to worry about passing the data around. So what if clicking on this button I think I'll prompt for the passphrase right here, and then just group all of these in one go, like this. Div bif is equal to confirm, because this is the generation aspect, right? Till here, this is the confirming aspect. So we might bring the passphrase back to here. Should we keep the passphrase as differently altogether? I think I should, because that will let me handle the UX a little better. And if not, then I can always bring it back to the screen. So let's use the model confirming on this one. What is it confirming? So we will only have one confirming screen, or rather state, which is we are confirming mnemonic. Passphrase is simply will get the user to type it twice. So it will work, should work just fine. So confirming is false, and if confirming is equal to true, no, I mean false, the default state, then it will load, and then when we are trying to confirm it, then we bring in the code for the confirm. If we wrote anything, we did not, so we can start writing that now. So at this point, when the confirm proceed button is clicked, we want to switch to the flip the value of the confirm mnemonic here. So we'll call it click, and over here define the click function. Oh no, not the click function, but we specify the function name here, which is confirming mnemonic, which will simply change the value of confirming as to flip it. Then this should show up on its own. I have a little text going in here. Reload it. Generate yes, proceed. Okay, error. Component template should contain exactly one root element. Okay, I hear you. Let me give you one daddy div. Okay, generate, proceed. Okay. Now, what do we want to do here? Generate. We have it. Proceed. Confirming true. Switch to this. Now we want the user to select this toy word out of a bunch of options. So we split the mnemonic, keep a track of which word of the mnemonic are we trying to confirm, and we know the word list that is in use, so we fetch all the words. I mean, we don't fetch all the words, we simply ask the API to give us 5 words from this word list in which this word should be used. Okay, so let's do that. Over here, we will define another function. Get similar words. Now, this is not a security function, this is simply a way to ensure that the user has indeed copy over the sensitive information that we were asking the user to, so that they never lose their funds. So get similar words. Over here, you need to track mnemonic index, let's call it, which should be -1 by default. And we start simply incrementing it. So when get similar words function is called, it will take the confirm first word, confirm mnemonic, it flips this, we get on that screen. Over there we call the get similar words function. Okay. I think this function should fire out. It changes the mnemonic index to 0. And it shouldn't be possible to click proceed without having... Okay, it only shows up when we have mnemonic, so there is no validation needed here. When this is clicked, confirming is true and mnemonic index is changed from -1 to 0, and we fire get similar words. And then we need we didn't need to render whatever we fetch, whatever we get out of it. So fetch similar words, and the word list would be word list language that we have here. So now that we pass that, we don't pass the index or anything. We simply pass English language is the one we want, and we have to pass the actual word. Or we shouldn't. We should simply try to get, like, if I want to show 4 or 5 words there, we fetch 5 from here, just replace one of them with the actual word and continue, and ensure that the actual word wasn't there. Yeah, I think that's good. So fetch similar words. Fetch random words rather. Okay, that makes sense. I'll quickly take a tea break. I'll be back. Give me a second. back. So let's continue. Okay, so we are fetching some random words out of the word list language here so that we can show them. This way we don't really have to pass the first word of the mnemonic that we have chosen over here. Okay, so now we write the backend handler for it. Generate mnemonic, fetch random words, fetch random words handler. Let's use it here, and let's see, let's have the call stuff going in here, and then we need to read the value that is passed in the URL, right? And it's a get request, not a post from the body, so you can get it like this. The actual parameter is the word list. So word list is equal to this, and then based on this word list value we have to choose a text file and pick a random word, a few random words rather. So I think what I can additionally do is, instead of reading the entire file or then choosing a bunch of words, I can simply, if I know how many lines are there in that file, simply use the random number generator to get a bunch of integers which will correspond to the line number itself, and then use that to fetch it. I'm just curious, for a stream of 3 hours and 15 minutes I have almost used up 6.5 GB of data, so double of that is 13 GB, and if I have a data cap of 500 GB on this connection, I have 2 connections, then is, yeah, I mean, so if I'm like streaming every single day, I'll still have 8 days of this data remaining, 8 multiplied by 30, which is not a lot, but that's fine, it will work out, no need to worry about it. For bigger downloads like game downloads and everything, as long as I can simply remember to switch to the other connection I have, I should be good. Okay, back to this. We chose the word list. Go language, pick random words from our text file. With the words, use string split to split the line into the words, and those they're reading the entire file. I don't want to do that. Because I'll essentially be reading about 2000 words into the memory, so I want to keep the memory consumption little, because the hardware vault where this will be running is this. It has only 500 MB of RAM, 512 MB, so the lower we can keep our memory consumption, the better that will be. Okay. what can we do here? I'm thinking of counting the lines of the file using a shell command. I'm pretty sure it's like such a common thing, somebody must have done it already. Oh, this is Java. Okay, Golang count lines in file. How do we determine the number of lines in a file? They open the file, they use a scanner. And they scan it. What does the scanning do? Here's a faster line counter using bytes.count to find the new line characters. It's faster because it takes away all the extra logic and buffering required to return whole lines, and takes advantage of some assembly optimized functions offered by the bytes package to search characters in a byte slice. Larger buffers also help here, especially with larger files. On my system with the file I used for testing, 32K buffer was fastest. I mean, I have zero concerns for being it speedy. I just needed to have the least memory footprint. I think I'll use this approach and see where that takes me. So this is a line counter function. You pass a reader to it and it will give you the integer and the error if any happens. So thanks, guy. Come back to it, put that here, line counter. I still need to map the string here into the actual file. For that, how is the io.reader different from, like, is this the io.reader when I use os.op? The path to file would be so again, that will depend on the current working directory where the binary was fired, right? But I will be choosing the directory before executing the binary, so I can use relative URLs here. This will be static word this, and then yes, simply use English for now to see how it works out first. Right. Just log it. That will show us what we were able to read and suppress the error as well. And the file is of what type? Open file. What do you written, buddy? Okay, it's right here. Open file, no log. Okay, and what about you? A file. What is this type? So it's a custom type, which is file, which is OS specific. Okay. Which is fd, an integer, name, and directory info. Okay, so once I get the file like this, read Go language, os.open returns an io.reader. Really? since it doesn't throw an error, that means this is this. I mean, this doesn't throw an error, so that means this is true. This does not want to throw up. So what that means is os.file does return this. That's what it's telling us. Not how, I don't know. Because what is this? And why is it this in parentheses of its own? What does that mean? And what's this syntax? Oh, I have no idea. Okay, never mind. We'll just use it for now. Simply try to use it. And since it says this is an io.reader only, we'll call it file. Oh, that it was file only. And this was an error, so we do want to use the error log as to what went wrong. And then over here we can line counter, right? So line counter, pass in file, and we get what? Line count. LC and error. There we go. If error not equal to log.print and then what do we do with LC? We just log it for now and see if this is even working. Let's compile it again. We'll have to do this step again. Oops. Okay, the error happened when I clicked on proceed. Why is that? Okay, let's see. Reference error, word list language is not defined. In get similar words. This isn't defined here. That's what it's saying. Okay, it should be used as this dot da da da. Okay, so it did fire out the request. It was able to get the value English, but it was not able to open this static word log. What? That was my bad. Let's try that again. And okay. Ooh. Okay, so it was able to fetch it to 048. Right, cool. So now I generate 5 different words and fetch 5 different. Right. What did I do here actually? I mean, it's a given. I know they are all gonna have word count, line count. Is that a thing? Word count is there. But yeah, word count will work for us because each line is essentially a single word, and every single one of them has exactly the same words, 2048. So instead of trying to read like count the number of lines, I think I can simply generate 5 different random numbers, and while scanning it, while going through it, use it. Buffer, I think line separator, byte. So I think I don't need to use this. We simply skip 5 words. This creates a buffer. This is the counter. Then this is the line separator that they are searching for. Read the buffer. So it scans, it reads from the files in buffers of this size, and then inside of C, it turns it into a splice. So this converts that into a slice, and then bytes.count. Okay, counts the number of non-overlapping instances of separator in string. If separator is an empty slice, count returns 1 plus the number of UTF encoded code points. Okay, then simply based on this buffer rate, either we encounter the end of file, okay, this is a constant, then we return the count, nil error, or if the error is not nil, this one. What? This is supposed to keep on reading until they encounter the end of the file. So let's say when the very first instance where they didn't encounter it, the error will not be some anything. Error is not visible to nil, or error is equal to this. So it will totally skip this because there was no error whatsoever. And in the second, third iterations, it will keep doing that. If only when the error returned is end of file, it returns no error because that's expected. If anything else happened, then it returns the error itself. Okay, smart function makes sense. What I need to do is at this point pick 4 random words from 0 to 2048. And then while scanning this file, I know what the count is going on. And at that very count, I keep on collecting those words. And as soon as I have 4 of them, then simply return. Okay. let's do this. Pick 4 random words first. Let's do that. O language, random number. Math.rand. Rand or math/rand is the package.
Here and now, I loved you all along. I threw away my crown. I lost my sanity. You're my key.
What was the second argument? I mean, if I do this, I do this, inside of this, it simply returns an integer, it only accepts one parameter. Okay, that's not the argument for this. It's print 81 and 87. Okay. I can't just generate one and start scanning the file. I have to generate 4 of them beforehand. Let's see. Four random words. Start reading the file. And we have to each time since it's not reading line by line, you can't really use it like this in buffers. Language read file line by line. How much memory is gonna take if I fetch it? These many bytes. So that is like 26 KB. That's not a lot. And also this is like the biggest file is 37 KB. 38 KB, let's say. 38 KB of memory is what? Nothing. Random words out of 5. I guess I'll have to read line by line. Okay. So use the scanner like this. Do we even need this function anymore? So we have the file defined, right? Okay. This is a handler. The actual path stays here, and still have to change path as per word list variable. If a file goes, pick 4 random words, start scanning it, and what do we do? For scanner.scan function, it's scanning one by one, right? Let's see what this function does. Scan advances the scanner to the next token, which will then be available through the bytes or text method. It returns false when the scan stops, either by searching at the end of the input or an error. After scan returns false, the error method will return any error that occurred during scanning, except that if it was ioded off. Error will return nil. Scan panics if the split function returns too many empty tokens without advancing the input. This is a common error mode for scanners. Scan panics? Really? I don't know when that happens, but I don't know why they have to do it like this. Empty reads. What does it say? Returning tokens, not advancing input. Sounds like they're getting inputs, but not the scanner pointer is not advancing forward. Okay. If I write it, do I get each one of those in a line of its own? Let's see. Printer, random 1, random 2, random 3, random 4. Got all of these. Let's run it. Okay, the server is up. Okay, we did get each word on its own line. So if we were to keep a counter over here, that will simply tell us when to do our stuff. So line is equal to 0. Doing this if line is equal to one of our random numbers, then random 1. So now I should only get one output. Okay, these are the 4 random numbers, but where is my output? Oh, I didn't increment the line, so it never did a match. Okay, got during. Oh, these random numbers are exactly the same. I think I recall reading something about this. Okay, this is trivial. I'll fix it later on. For now, this will be the end of this stream. I'm getting basically starving, so I'll go get dinner. Thanks for watching, and if you're interested in checking out this project, go to woodpecker.com, woodpcker.com. Over there, you'll have a link which will list out the basic goals of this project and a Google Docs linking to the specifications and the roadmap. And if you want to follow the development, you put in your email and I'll send you a weekly update on the development. So yeah, thanks again. And if you want to follow me on my adventures figuring these things out and building products, you can follow me on Twitter. You'll see the handle on the screen in a second. So yeah, thanks for watching. Bye bye.